So Roland just released the P-6, a powerful pocket-sized sampler that packs a ton of features into a tiny form factor. But because of all of its capabilities in such a small box, it can feel a bit menu heavy. So if you're looking to jump straight into beat making without getting bogged down in menus, then I've got a workflow that simplifies the process and lets you start creating right away. In today's video, we'll cover how to import samples, chop them up, resample, and even perform a full track by the end. This is by no means the ultimate way to make music on the P-6, but if you want to get right into making beats on this awesome little sampler, then this video is for you. Let's get into it. When I put these samples in, they're a bit long and you've got some time restrictions with what you can sample, but when you get into sample, and I've got the mic muted, but if I hit delete, you can hear the mic. We'll mute that though, so we're gonna resample, so we want that muted. But now the lo-fi button is actually your different sample rates. I actually set the piano already to the 11 sample rate, but to get it to be long, we'll have to have it at that. Now, these buttons here are gonna control if it's mono or stereo. If you do stereo, you get a lot less sample time. So we're gonna do mono. You can also set the measure. So we're gonna do 4, and then this is your threshold for sound. You can either have it sync or you can have it set to a threshold, a level. When that level gets met, it starts recording. And then this one, it's the gain. We've got effects just like on the 404. So I'm gonna choose, we've got vinyl. Vinyl is always nice. Cassette's cool. I think we'll go with the vinyl. Just a little noise. A little filter. That's really gritting it up nice. We could also add the lo-fi, which adds that little bit crushed high-pitched sound. If you hit shift lo-fi, you can change the level of the lo-fi so you can get a lot less of it. So we're going to set it to 11. We're going to choose sample 3, arm it. Perfect. Now it's going to normalize it, write it. So it takes a couple seconds. Okay, there we go. So this is the original version. Little clean. Hear that grit we got? Little, almost like sand, grain, whatever you want to call it. We can still add the lo-fi on top. You can hear it adds a lot of character to the high end when we do that. Let's start by going to a new pattern, and it's blank. It's 16 steps, and you can see if we get out of pattern, you can see it running, and then we can add steps and things like that if we need to, or duplicate it. But we'll start with that. Getting to the click track is a bit menu divey. So I think we'll start with a hi-hat and just sequence that to be our kind of click track. That'll work. Here's the drums. So if you click it, it's going to play the whole track through unless you hit the gate, just like the SP. If you go to the keyboard, that's basically your chromatic mode. So we could just pitch up. And then if you want to stop a sample from playing, just hit shift exit. From there though, there's actually a quick way to chop things. And so we're going to do that to get even chops. So we're going to go shift and it's voice, which is G. And you can see you get all these different options. We're going to go to chop. We're going to hit enter, which is C sharp. And let's set the drums to 16. Now, if you just press it, it's only hitting one sound. And that's because it chopped everything up. So let's find a couple sounds we like. Oh, that actually works. Yeah, let's do that. If we get out of the keyboard, you can see the step sequencer, and I find this step sequencer is a lot closer to something like the Digitact than it is the SP404's TR Rec mode, which I actually really like because you can go in and do per step things and stuff like that. Here's the sequence we've got. So it's a little wonky, so I actually think we might just want to redo it, but let's see what we've got. If we hold each note down, we can actually see what note it's playing, and I think C4 is what we want there. So I'm just going to redo it. And then the other note we want is this one. From there, let's go back to this original hi-hat that we made, and I'm actually going to go in and add more notes. One thing that we can do, and it might already be set to auto pan because for the previous pattern I showed you, I had this one on auto pan. But I think if we go to, it's either mixer or voice, we'll find it. There it is, auto pan. We can set it to random so that it bounces around. Now what we can do is go into per step. We'll go down and change each one. Okay, perfect. Now we might even want to make it lower or something like that. We can also go with the timings And if we go back into this, hit granular, you can get all these different options. So we'll shift the timings a little bit here. We'll put that one on 4. We can also, if we go into shift, we can add some shuffle, and we'll add that lo-fi button, which will just bit crush it a little bit, give it that lo-fi. All right, so that sits a little better as a hi-hat with the rest of the track. And so we're gonna go shift, voice, and we're gonna chop this one up, and let's do 8. So if we get into the keyboard now, kind of like that. That is actually probably 32 steps, so we're going to need to duplicate the steps we've got. So I'm going to go into pattern, we're going to go shift copy, move this to duplicate, and then we're going to duplicate it. So now it just took the 16 steps and made it 32. And if we go out of that and use this page, you can see now there's 2 little zeros. And that's our 2 separate pages. Now they're going to be exactly the same right now because we just duplicated it, but it's going to go for 2 now. If we get out of pattern, you can see it run, and then you won't see it run for the next one. And we could always go back. If we hit last, we could change it to 32. Let's drop the pitch. I like down 4. I think that sounds good. Let's turn on the keyboard and hear how it sounds. And let's go to mixer. There it is. If we go to shift A sharp, which is the delay, and then here we can go and change like what it's doing. So let's go delay time. Got it on a quarter. Now let's get this bass. So that's basically where I wanted to get the track. We've got the SP here, and we might as well see what we can do with that. So if we hop into chromatic mode on here, I don't know if we're in major or minor, we'll have to find out. But if we hold roll, we can change what note. Now the samples were originally in D. We dropped it 4 semitones, so I think that would be A sharp, B flat. I'm just thinking maybe minor first. Actually, easiest one, pentatonic. Then let's set our routings. Let's put the P-6 on bus 2. So that way I can set, let's say, Kodama on bus 1. And now only Kodama will be on the 1 shot. And then let's throw on bus 3 and 4. Let's put on special sauce on the SP, cassette sim, and compressor. There we go. Always makes it sound better. These two have a lot of similarities, but they have a lot of differences. As you could see when I was working with stuff, there's a lot more menu diving on here, whereas a lot of stuff is more apparent here. We didn't touch the granular engine yet. The per step functionality, the way you can change note, velocity, all that, each step is huge, and I wish they would add more of that to the SP. And then per pad filters, you can get a lot of really quick mixing done by just using high pass and low pass filter. Finally, I want to go over importing samples using Roland's app SampleTool. So you can also sample and resample within just the P-6. Here you can use the app to send any sample, whether it's made in your DAW or just a sample that's a file on your computer, into the P-6. So you're going to hold the sampling button and then turn on the P-6. Go to the select P-6 drive and you'll see your P-6, hit connect, and now you're in. So now we've got the P-6 connected, and this is everything you see in the app. You can't actually play the samples, but you can see by the color of the pad on the app if it's a filled in sample or if it's empty. So like on C, these 3 white pads are empty, so I have those where I can put something in. All you have to do is find a sample that you want to move over and just move it over to one of those pads. So here you can see the waveform, and part of it is in a lighter gray and the rest is dark. That is because we have to deal with sample times on the P-6, and so we've got quite a few sample rates that allow for different durations of sounds. Because the sample is in 44.1, which you can see on the bottom here at this downsampling, we only get in stereo 2.95 seconds, But if you go on this bottom section here, we can actually make it mono, which does make it a little bit longer. And then from there, if we want, we can downsample it, or you can go to the arrow and just try one. So to get this full track to fit, we have to downsample it to 14.7. We can also move the start and end point, and then from there we could truncate it, and we can also normalize the sample, which brings the volume up. You can snap to 0, you can set the loop, and then you can preview the sound. There's not a whole lot that you can do on this app, but this is what you do. All right, so now we've got the samples that we need. All you got to do now is hit transfer, and then you just have to eject. Make sure that you press the keyboard button on the P-6, and you can see it's going to start doing its thing. You'll know it's done when it says done. So then what you're going to want to do is actually shut off the P-6, then turn it back on in its normal mode, don't hold sample down, and then we can get into making the beats. So that's my workflow for getting started with the P-6 to avoid a lot of the menu diving. Still have to do some, but to make beats right away. And you can check out my Roland P-6 cheat sheet, which is out now, which is an easy to reference quick start guide for all things P-6. If you want to learn more about the granular engine, one of the most powerful tools on the Roland P-6, check out this video next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.